do you adjust your expectations for the title game on Monday based on what happened Saturday? Or is your valuation? I mean, I know you could have injuries like Janai Broom had the elbow. They now say he's going to be fine. But in general, do you look at this and say, hey, I'm going to allow Saturday's performance to dictate to me what the line should be on Monday? Or do you have these teams baked, barring significant injury, and you're going to basically play the number that you expect, right? In other words, how much movement do we get? If Duke came out and beat Houston by 30, right, they would be even more prohibitive favorite probably, even though we have 36 games or whatever it is of Duke action to already be validating.
I think I'd rather have that. Is that weird? I think I'd rather have Duke blow out Houston and Florida win in a tight game versus Auburn, because that would add an incredible amount of line value. I mean, we're using a one-game sample size here to say that Duke is now exponentially
but it would move.
better.
A lot of people would adjust, I guess is what I'm saying, based on what they see, because everybody watches those Saturday games.
And you shouldn't. It's no different than the NFL, Clay. Week to week, we see Jacksonville get blown out at home, 31-0. And then the next week they go win on the road. And then everybody's like, how'd that happen? Well, it happens all the time because you can't overreact to what you saw last game. And that is because no team is as bad as you last saw, and they're not as good as you last saw. You mentioned that Alabama game versus Duke. Had Alabama reversed those two games, I think BYU could have beaten Bama, how they played against Duke. And I think Alabama could have beaten Duke, how they played against BYU. You get hot at the right time, and you got to ride the hot hand. At the same token, you got to not overreact. And everybody overreacted to Bama and what they did to BYU. Duke did not ultimately shut it down. I think Duke was actually undervalued at that game. If you remember, we spoke about it. 6.5 was way too low, and that's why it got bet up early. I think the best thing that could probably happen to me in finding some value would be for Duke to blow out Houston. The reality is then it would be bad for me to hedge, right? At that point, it would give me almost no hedge. I'd have to be laying $3, minus 250, minus $3 on Duke. That's not a fun spot to be in either.